Hello and welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic for what is very much not a Sudoku video today. This book is just out, The Language Lover's Puzzle Book by Alex Bellos. Now, Alex is definitely a friend of the channel. He coined the name Sandwich Sudoku after our first big hit video and wrote about us in The Guardian to do so. And he presents puzzles of all kinds in a bi-weekly column, I think, in The Guardian's website at least. Very interesting stuff that he's done, not just obviously on Sudoku, but on number problems, all kinds of logical problems, and indeed language problems. And that is what he's devoted a book to now, which is brilliant. And it's out today, by which I would have said it's out in British bookshops. But since, at least in England, all bookshops have been closed down as non-essential as of yesterday. Thanks for that. As of yesterday, for our second major lockdown, that means that you can't go out and get it. But obviously there are a number of avenues online to buy this from today. Now, I was lucky enough to be sent an advance copy of the book, and I've been looking through much of it. It's really very interesting. What you may not know about me is I have a degree in linguistics, and as that implies, language has always been very interesting to me. You won't be amazed to believe that puzzles have always been very interesting to me as well, since that's what I do every day. Now, in the preface, Alex explains the point of the book, that the puzzles in it, and it is basically a puzzle book, are all about languages. And there is a very nice bit where he explains, let me just find it, sorry a second, should have planned this bit a bit better, that the excellence here, linguistics puzzles actually deliver 3 times over. You're forced to use your wits, you discover something surprising about another language, and finally you learn something about your own language too. And actually, it goes on to just to finish the preface. Most importantly, rather than simply being told of a particular linguistic phenomenon, you get the pleasure of working it out for yourself. You flex your linguistic and logical brain and learn something new about the world. Well, let's test that with a puzzle from the book. We'll do one. If that goes well, I might do a second as well. Let's see how it goes. So the page I went to is this page, which has a puzzle called I.New York. Don't worry too much about this page, but it does have the instructions. You have to match the names, Ashley, Barb, Carl, Dave, Ellen, Elena, Fred, Gerald, Heather, Ivan, Jack, Kathy and Lisa, to the words shown in New York Point. Now in the book, it explains a very interesting fact that I did not know, that before Braille was created, the raised dot typeface for blind people to feel, it wasn't necessarily the only contender for a raised dot typeface. New York Point had also been created, and I guess a bit like VHS and Betamax, they battled it out, and Braille won hands down, to be fair. New York Point existed for a little while, and as Alex puts it in the book, we're exhuming it just for a day. Now, when we've finished this puzzle, what he encourages us to do is to write Orson in New York Point in the grid below. You will not need to use all the columns for each letter. So that's how it appears in the book. If we go to, what I've done is created the puzzle in our software, which is not actually going to be any use in the sense that we cannot, sorry about that, just trying to extend the screen, that doesn't like doing that. This is very annoying. Okay, well there we go, that gets it all in just, I hope you can see everything. Now we can't use this grid, although I did make it available that we can maybe put some colors or numbers in these cells to match up these names. But I'm not going to be able to use the dots or anything like that. What we're going to have to do is interpret this code, work out how we would write Orson. We can't physically write it in this grid, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. So this is going to be effectively a code breaking puzzle, and we'll see how we go about breaking what is a real life code. I mean, I believe this is real New York point alphabet for the blind that we're looking at, I guess, here. So have a go yourself. Just pause the video and study the screen, see if you can work it out. But I'm going to try now, so let's get cracking. And I mean, the important thing is that these names are not in order down the right. Sorry, I should have said that before, encouraging you to have a go yourself. They are in some order, and they match in another order to these names, to these dot patterns. So we have to work out which is which by working out, I guess, which letter is which. So have a go yourself. Now, I think the way to look at this, these 12 names have been chosen to all begin with different letters, all from A to L. I can see that. What I've also just seen is there isn't an O amongst them. So how we're meant to get Orson, I suppose we're going to have to work out the pattern by which the encoding has occurred. But I think the best way to go about this is to first of all just try and identify some letters. Now, as I was saying, they all begin with different letters, so we're not going to get any exact matches, I would assume, in whatever the first letter in the code is. However, some of them end with the same letter. So we've got an Ashley and a Kathy ending in Y, Lisa and Elena ending in A, Fred and Gerald ending in D. I might have missed one, but there are at least 3 things where they end in the same letter. And at the ends of these, I can see, yeah, this little triangle shape appears there and up here. Up here, this looks like it might be a 4-character name. So Fred's a possibility, or Lisa. Down here, that's either 1 or 2. This is 5 or 6. So it could be Elena, but there doesn't seem to be a repeated letter. What is it with Fred? Gerald. G-E-R. So if that was R-E, I don't know. It doesn't seem to match up. Now, I may have missed... what was the other one I said? Kathy and Ashley. Could that be Kathy? It doesn't look long enough. If that was Ashley, just these first 2 might be A and A up there. I don't know. Maybe the best thing, actually, that didn't go as well as I was hoping. Maybe the best thing is to look for the longest name. Now, Heather's the only name with 7 letters. This one could be 7, but Heather's got a repeated H. This one's longish, or this? None of them seem to have repeats. I wondered for a second up here whether, if that was Kathy, could this 4 dots be a TH? Maybe that would all be 1 character. That might work for Heather here, which would then end in an E being a single dot, a bit like Morse code, and R there. Now, where else would we get an R? Look, there's something that could be an R here. That could be Gerald with an E there. R here. That could be Fred with an E there. I think we're onto it now. So, okay, I think Heather, let's colour Heather green, and this, oh look, and colour that cell as well. So I think this is Heather. This long set of 6 dots must be H. That's an E. Then A, 2 dots, TH, intriguingly a digraph, sort of, or it's a single consonant, so it must be a kind of phonetic alphabet. TH there, and then E, and then R at the end. Now that's going to work fine for Heather. Now Fred, I thought, was this one. Again, 4 dots, then R, E, and then D becomes this sort of delta of dots appropriately. So let's colour Fred. Where did I think Gerald was? Here. G, that's possible, no idea. E and R looks brilliant. A, that's exactly what we've established. D, that's fine. And L is actually in an L shape, which is highly logical. So we'll, sorry, that one was purple. We're saying Gerald is this one. Now, Eleanor, you see none of these begin with a dot, so maybe first, oh, capital letter for the first one. Ah, okay, that's why they're all over 4 spaces, maybe. So if Eleanor has an E in it, it must finish with 2 dots for an A, but so does Lisa. This one's probably Lisa. L, and then the 2 dots to show capital. I is an I shape, that's very logical. S is these 2 dots side by side. This is definitely Lisa. Now, which other one ended in A? This one looks like Eleanor. So we will go, that is somehow E. So the single dot, then it gets 3 on the next row. L, we recognize that. E, we recognize that. N now we find out is 2 dots at the bottom. So a bit like Morse code, which has A is dot dash and N is its reverse, dash dot. Here, A is on the top, 2 dots. N is on the bottom, 2 dots. That's Eleanor, or Elena. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that name normally. Right, so Kathy, we were right. A TH sign, and this Y, this sort of inverted Y is the Y. I'm going to obviously have to reuse, well, it doesn't really matter what colours I'm using. Let's make these all the same colour so far. We'll make them purple. Now, so I'm saying, oh, I shouldn't have gone too far. This one I thought was Kathy with K-A-T-H-Y. Yes, okay, let's make both of those purple as well. That's done. Now, we've got Ashley, that ends in a Y, so that is this one. A, when it's a capital A, you put those 2 dots. L there, so I think this whole 1 on top of 3 is a sh, which is quite surprising. Then L-E-Y, that looks great. Okay, so that's Ashley. And we found a new character, a sh. Now, what's this? That's an upside down Y. Then is that A-N? Yes, Ivan this is. So I, which is 2 dots and then 3 in a line. Oh, you seem to have to fill the rest of one of the lines with dots when it's a capital. So you do the character itself, or the small letter version. V is obviously a V shape. That's very neat. Okay, Ivan is done. Dave, that might, no, even though that's got an A, this must be, no, it's not Carl, this must be Barb. I'm not sure. Let's get the ones we can definitely get. This is Dave. It's got an A, a V, and an E. So D is a delta and then 2 more dots to fill out the space. So we're getting an idea of what's happening with the capital letters. Now, Barb, Carl, and Jack to go. All of them have an A second letter. This one goes A, R, not L, which is a little L shape. So that must be Barb down here. And B is clearly, yeah, that looks interesting. B is, small b is those 3 on top of 1. For the capital B, we have to put another dot on the other end of the row. It's hard to tell. It's hard to predict what the capital will be for me. Anyway, Carl and Jack, so one of them has an R, that's this one. This must be Carl. It finishes with an L, that's fine. Now we'll find out what a small c is from Jack. A small c is that, and down. So then that gets a dot at the top. So it looks like to me the capital rule is that you take the small letter and then you put either you put dots to the end of the 4-cell pattern, and if possible you go, depending on what the last dot was, you go to the other side. So on this L, the dots go on the top. On this H, we don't know what a small h is, but the dots go on the bottom. It's probably the 3 letters. Anyway, so we've certainly attributed the 12 letters, but now, how do we write Orson when we haven't seen O, or, oh, we have seen S in Lisa. Lisa was, this is where having 12 colours would have helped. Which one was Lisa? It had 2 dots for an I in it. It's this one, isn't it? This one here is Lisa. L as a start, I. So S is those 2. So that's going to be the S in the 3rd character. N at the end, as in Elena, is going to be the 2 dots at the bottom. That's fine. R, well, we know that from, say, Fred or Gerald. R is this reversed L of dots. But what do we do for O? Well, now we're going to have to work out what the pattern of A, B, C, D is, if there is one. So A, maybe the vowels have their own pattern. That's much more likely because the consonants seem much longer. So A was 2 dots at the top, E's 1 dot, I is 2 dots down the left. We haven't seen O or U. I mean, I think there's a chance O will be all 4. No, that's TH. I don't know. How are we meant to know? Is there another pattern that I'm not picking up? B. B, Barb was down here somewhere, so that was this one. So B was like that. But then C, which was Carl, was down. It's very hard to guess if there's a pattern there, and given that some of these letters then match their actual shapes, like V and L, which must be deliberate, it's very hard for me to assume that we can work out what O is by an ordering of letters. Maybe L, K, L, did they get more regular as we were going along? I don't think so. I think we may just have to assume what O is somehow. As I say, TH was the 4 in a circle, which would have been a quite nice potential O. It's clear that they want to keep the vowels short in terms of characters. A, E, and I are all 1 or 2 dots. And I mean, that's very typical of alphabets. The more recurring letters are used with the least number of strokes. That's absolutely normal. I don't know how we decide what O is, I'm afraid. Maybe you have a better idea than I do, but I think that's very hard to figure out. Maybe as E was a single dot at the top of a box, O is quite likely to be a single dot at the bottom. Let's make that assumption. I will check it at the end. Maybe I'll put a card up to see if that's right. So if O is a single dot at the bottom, then capital O will be that single dot at the bottom plus 3 dots along the top to make it capital, because that's what seems to happen. Like with this capital E in Elena, the 1 dot at the top got 3 dots at the bottom. So I think O would be 1 dot at the bottom and 3 more at the top. So there we go. That is the puzzle about New York Point. And I'm going to carry on just because I find this quite entertaining, to be honest. So let's just move the puzzle again and go back to the pages of the book. And this other one, now this is quite interesting. It's called Down and Across in Antananarivo. Fill in the cross number shown below. The clue numbers are presented in Malagasy, and I think I read this is the language of Madagascar. Now, I don't speak that. Knowledge bomb. The clue numbers are presented in Malagasy in alphabetical order. Well, that doesn't help us then. None of these answers has 0 as a first digit. If you're struggling, read the tips over leaf. Well, you, dear viewer, are not going to get to see those. So you're going to be relying on yourself to solve this. Now, what I've done here is, again, gone back to our software and created this. Now, so that we can see the clues there, let me try and move. I don't know how to do this now. Let's see if I can get the grid up into the corner of the screen. There we go. So we'll put the grid up there. We'll just move the clues a tiny bit. There we are. Right, now, how are we going to fill in this grid? How are we going to learn to say the numbers in Malagasy and fill in this grid? Well, let's start with one of the basics of cross numbers, is that only some of the clue numbers have both an across and a down entry. So in this grid, 1 and 3 are both across and down. So there should be 2 words that are mimicked in the acrosses and downs, and I can see that they are ire and tello. So they must be 1 and 3 in some order. Now, ire doesn't seem to appear from what I can see in any of these clues, although 2 or 3 of them begin iraika, which is probably a derivative from ire. So that's interesting. Now, is there any derivative from tello? Or, yes, telonjato. Tello. Any other tellos around? No. But what is telonjato? Well, look, there are... Yeah, this is interesting. In the downs, there are 4 of them that are 5 digits long, and in the acrosses there are 3. And if these clues, as I think they probably are now, are just saying something like 34,512, the longer clues will have the thousands and the hundreds in. And I think the thousands must be... Well, you've got dimanjato. Okay, there's some sort of jato or zato in lots of the clues, and there's some sort of words that end in alina in others of the clues. So one of that lot is thousands and one is hundreds. Now, if we're going in strict kind of units, then tens column order, then the alinas will be thousands, and I think that's quite likely. So Dimi, Fito and Valo are 5, 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3 and 4 are Efatra, Ire and Tello, and probably Roa, although it could be Anina, which has this telonjato. So my working hypothesis is that the jato or zato is 100. And the other stuff is 1,000. And these all have Fito in, don't they? C looks like it means and to me. Arrivo, I don't know. It might just be another kind of longer version of and. Alina looks like 1,000, although that could be Arrivo. Fito, though, is one of these across clues that does have thousands. So it's 5, 7 or 8,000 begins... Oh no, of course, yes, they're 5-digit numbers, not just 4-digit numbers. So they've got to get to 50,000 or 30,000 or something. Wow, this is tricky. Okay, how do we bring it down? Maybe let's have a look at the 4 short clues in the acrosses, which are only 2 digits. Civi is just folo, which hardly looks like it can be 2 numbers. Maybe 10 would be only a single word. And that one is Fito Ambini Folo. Fito, ambi, fitopolo. So Fito, ambi, fitopolo. These are probably oh no, these are all 2-digit answers. Iraika, ambi, fitopolo. So if Iraika is a derivative of 1, it's probably 10. So 10 plus fitopolo. Here, Fito, I suppose ambinni is the times 10, and then folo, which is another of the short acrosses. So it's 1, 3, 9 or 10. Now one of them is 10, isn't it? And it's not telo. Telo is 3, so the answer to this fito, ambinni, folo goes up here. So the answer to 3 down, which is clearly telo. Oh no, 1 down. 1 across is only 2. Ah, bother, sorry. I thought 1 across. Might refer to itself. So ire begins with fito, ambi, fitopolo, but ire down begins with iraika, but it's the single digit. Ah, so we've got a fito in ire down and a fito in and a fitopolo in ire across. In telo across we have a fito and a folo. In telo down we have a fito. So this beginning bit of the acrosses must be it must be the, I thought it was going to be the units digit, but the match there, fito, ambi, enimpolo, si zato, si enina, arrivo, si alina. Crumbs, this is really hard to figure out. Telonjato, so that's either 300 or 100, I reckon. Ah, enina down, this is the only 3 num. If telonjato is 100, enina means 6. Okay, let's work on that. Enina means 6. So enimpolo is enimpolo sizato, is that 106 or is it 600? And enina arrivo si alina, that's thousands. How many? Arrivo thousands. Arrivo's not a word, nor is alina. It's not a single number. But it could be multiplying it by 10, so 60,000. 60,000. Zato, enimpolo si zato looks like 600. But then with fito, very tough this. I really am struggling here. I'm sure there's a way to get through it though. So we think enina is 6. How can I use that better? None of these. Oh, enimpolo there. So dimi possibly has a 6 in the last 2 digits. Efatra, ambi, enimpolo. 60. Yes, polo will be times 10. Yeah, that figures. That figures. Something polo is times 10. So fitopolo is either 50, 70 or 80. So 2 of the short acrosses have that same 50, 70 or 80. Enimpolo is 60. 60 and efatra, which is one of the downs that's not 1 or 3, so it's 2 or 4. So enimpolo is 62 or 64. Sorry, efatra ambi enimpolo is 62 or 64. Telonjato is either 300 or 100. But then sis Evie Alina. It looks like it might be referring to this CV. Sis Evie. That's quite surprising numbers of thousands, especially as it's got to be 2 digits. 62 or 4. Now, is Ifatra going to be 2 or 4? Ifatra here begins with... Oh, it's not what it begins with, it's what it ends with. It ends with Ifatra Arrivo si Fito Alino. So, that'll be 4... 4 tens and say 7,000. What's Fito? Fito is an across clue. That's one of the longer ones. So again, 5, 7 or 8. So 50 something thousand. I'm kind of thinking Ifatra's probably 4. 50 something thousand at 54,000. Dimangiato, that's whatever Dimi is. Again, that's one of the longer acrosses, 5, 7 or 8. So it could be 57,000. Sorry, what did we say? 54,700. Valopolo, that's another of the longer acrosses. So 5, 7 or 8. Fito, Ifatra, Dimangiato feature in the first 3 digits there. No. Dimi, yes, Dimi is one of the longer ones. They feature in digits 1, 3 and 4. And Iraika, which is either 1 or 3 because it's derived from... Let's assume that 4 is Ifatra. So that's what this clue is. And it begins with Fito, 5, 7 or 8. Then Ifatra, which would be 4 if we're right. Then Dimangiato, that's the number of hundreds, and Dimi is either again 5, 7 or 8, and again Valo for Valopolo, 50, 70 or 80, and then Iraika, which is 1 or 3. So that's how it would go. Now, which of these Ire or Tello across ends with Fito? Both of them. Well, that means this one also ends with 5, 7 or 8. In fact, that is definite, whether or not that's a 4. Now, which other one of these then has Fito Alina? This one, Ire. Ire and Ifatra. Oh no, Ire and Tello were 2 and 4. Oh, now I'm getting confused. This one doesn't end... Oh, this one also ends in Fito Alina. It just has less interesting numbers in it. Okay, so it probably has zeros. Zato looks like probably just 100 to me. Fito Alina is whatever that is, 50,000. Oh no, 5,000. Crumbs. I don't know quite what's going on with this clue Roa. It's too short. But if Roa is 2, it makes a bit of sense to me that 2 would have a shorter name than 4. But that would make this one Dimampolo. Oh, Dimampolo is 2 letters. And it doesn't have... And they end in 0 because that's what the Olos do. So I think... we should put a 0 here. I can't put a 0. I'm going to colour it instead. Let's use yellow for 0, sorry. Dimampolo. So I think Roa is the one ending in Olo. So 9 across, Civi, is this one ending in just Olo here. So 9 is Civi. Okay, Enina is 6. Dimi is this number, which is also some across entry that ends in 4, which is this one. So that must be a 5. Get off the colours. There we go, 5 there. And we're looking at Roa down, Dimampolo. See Zato, which could be just 100. Not sure about that. Could be 0, and then Fito Alina could be 50,000. That's why it doesn't need another number. Well, something thousand. So another yellow cell there for another 0. Now, okay, so the across entry that ends in a 4, which is Efatra, is Dimi. So we think Dimi is 5. Efatra, that ends in a 4. Ambi, Enimpolo. Yeah, this is why we have fewer letters for the Alina. We just have something thousand, Civi thousand maybe, which was 9. Is that possible? 90,000? Not sure. I'm going to put a 9 in the corner. That's not a very good place to put it when it's obscuring the mark. Okay, I'll put a 9 in the center as a possible there. 90,000 this would be. Dimi across. Telonjato. Now, Tello, we still don't know if it's 1 or 3. It's part of Ire or Tello. Enimpolo, that is 60. Efatra Ambi Enimpolo 64. So I'm fairly confident about that. Enina is 6. Civi is 9, yes. Okay, now which one of these has a 5 in the thousands? 5 being Dimi. This one. There we are, Dimi. So something Arrivo. Civi, which is 9. Civi was 9, so 900 there. You can put a 9 in. Enimpolo 60. Not 5 at the end, because this is Valo, which is 7 or 8. Which one are we doing? We're doing clue Valo, clue 8. So Valo is 8. I don't know quite what the Arrivo at the beginning was. So, but that ends in 8. 7 has got 1,000 in it. Well, Dimi was 5, so Fito must be 7. And it ends with a 5, Dimi. Then it's got Folo. Civi was Folo. Oh, we don't know quite what multiple of 10 Folo is. Oh, it must be 10, because there is a clue, Folo. Brilliant. So that answer was 10. This ends in 15, which is Dimi and Binni Folo. Si Roanjoto, I think that's 2. That's what we've said. 200. Arrivo si Fito Alina. So Arrivo si Fito. Fito is 7. So that must be 71. I don't quite know how Arrivo is giving the 1, but I think that's right. Now, 6 down, Enina down was Telonjato. So Civi, 9, Roapolo, 20, lovely. Telonjato. Now, have we decided whether Ire or Tello are 3 or 6? Let's have a look at Tello down. This is the one with Enimpolo and Enina. So Tello is 3. We have decided that. 3, 6, 4. So 5, Dimi across. What does it begin with? Cis Evi Alina. I don't really know what that means. But Tello is 3 down. So let's have a look at 3 down. Fito, which we have just worked out, is the one that ended in itself 8. Is that right? No, it's the one that ends in 5. Fito is 7. There we go. Oh, no, not 7 there. 7 at the end, because that's where Fito goes. 7, 67, 167. Enina was 6. So whatever Arrivo was in terms of the tens of thousands, and we just learned what that was from this, it was 70? No, I don't believe that. I don't quite know how those numbers are beginning, but let's... Right, 9 across gives Folo, which is 10. 10 across, therefore, is this one. Iraika and be Fitopolo, 71 or 3 Iraika. But but we worked out telo is 3, so iraika is 1. So ira is 1, irai. And 1 down, iraika, so it ends in a 1, we knew that. And binifolo, that's 10, so that's a 1. Fitonjato is 700, Sivi arrivo si fito alano. Sivi is 9, so this one is a 9. Si fito alina, and fito we've worked out is 7. So that goes there. Now 1 across, ire across, fito ambi fito polo, 77. I feel like I'm speaking Malagasy now. 2 down is clearly 70,150. 2 down is roa. So 150 dimempolo 50. Yes, 100. And 70,000 is just fito alina. Okay, that's fine. Now, finally, one more entry to go. 3 across, which is telo across. Fito and binifolo. And fito is 7 that it finishes in. Let's just check that in. 4 down. Fito, yes, that's fine. And it begins with folo, which is 10. So this must be 17. And when you get a teen, it seems you get this ambini instead of ambi, which is fine. And 3 down, telo down. Okay, that must be what's going on with arrivo seal. It's making a teen number, 16,167. So there we are. Now we speak the numbers in Malagasy, and we could count from 1 to 10 by just going ire, roa, telo, efatra, dimi, enina, fito, 8, valo, sivi, folo. So if you speak Malagasy, please leave a comment to say how brilliant my pronunciation was. I have no doubt at all. So there we go. That is 2 puzzles from Alex Belos's fascinating Language Lovers puzzle book. I do recommend it. Really some interesting stuff in it. I've only got about a third of the way through it myself. So give it a go if you're interested in that sort of thing. If you're not, thank you for bearing with me. And we'll be back to Sudoku tomorrow, I have no doubt. So thank you very much for your time, and hope to see you again soon on Cracking the Cryptic. Bye for now.